Howard! How you doing? Should I leave this open? Hey, what's happening, man? Shining like a national guitar. Come on, let's get a leg up. I am following the river down the highway through the cradle of the sun. Oh, Sunday, all right. We got the Sunday Missoulian. And they got, oh, God. They got Parade magazine. Oh, man, this is great. Oh, man, just what everybody's been waiting for. Personality Parade. What a father learned from grief. Onita Flatware, yours to try free for 30 days. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Ask Marilyn. Oh, boy, that's a good one. Yep. Okay, buy that. Bye-bye. And then this thing they always wrap around the comics. Coupons. 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 They got an article about, you know, the lifeguards here in Missoula. And, you know, I was talking to one of the lifeguards that's in the picture here, you know, beautiful, full-color, nice kid. You know, I talked to him one day down there. And look at this, Howard. He's like, he's down there with a toothbrush or something, cleaning out one of the urinals at the, you know, McCormick pool. And I said to this kid, I said, so how much do you make? And he said, $4 an hour. So I said, well, I don't know. I just thought, you know, for somebody guarding lives, that I'd like to pay them like $4.50 an hour or something like that. And anyway, ex-girlfriend of, you know, this guy Souter that from New Hampshire that Bush is nominating, and his ex-girlfriend remembers him fondly, you know. Now, I wonder how many of my exes remember me fondly. Anyway, 2 Live Crew gets more heat. You know, the rap group is getting more heat. Another oil spill down in Galveston, an oil tanker and barges collide. And, oh, Florida execution may clear the way for more. Well, that's great news, isn't it? Holy mackerel. Let's get those electricians, keep those electricians moving. PGA tournament protest. Lee Trevino may skip it. Travel. Sunday Missoulian. Da-da-da-da. Business. Housing managers. On TV. Is this part of the Sunday paper? I never know. It's very confusing. This is from the Missoulian. On TV. The Missoulian had this article. Pretty good one. A couple, I don't know, when was it? About a week ago, remember that? Patricia Sullivan wrote an article about, you know, who's going to run public television in Montana. You know, is it going to be Montana State University or the University of Montana? Are they going to, you know, make this deal with Spokane Public Television? And you know what I want to know is who elected them Pope, right? Who elected them Pope? Who decided that U of M and MSU should be the, you know, the chief bulldogs on public television in Montana? And how come they're ignoring these 12 rural independent stations spread all around Montana? Yeah. Down the Bitterroot, up the Flathead, down in, down the Northern Cheyenne Nation, up in White Sulphur Springs. And these people in these little towns raised their own money, you know, put their own station on the air because they got sick of all these academic bureaucrats, messing around trying to, get the political hoo-ha, to be the big deal public TV people in the state of Montana. And here you got a dozen local communities raise their own money, put their own stations on the air, and now the universities want to kind of like centralize decision-making, and maybe take some of the little community TV stations' money and decide what's going to go on the air in those places, How come these people don't get off their butt after 15 years of messing around with public television in Montana? Now they're talking about they want taxes, tax money to do it. Well, what happened to the idea for the National Consumer Cooperative Bank to come in and build a pay-as-you-go ownership system? What about public ownership of public television, huh? Howard, you never have anything to say. You just sit there and listen. I mean, come on, give me a break. Say something. I mean, anyway, so that's kind of, annoying. What about the First Amendment? How come the University of Montana and Montana State University don't talk about, freedom of speech in the press? How come they don't talk about the First Amendment? How come they don't say, we're going to have a policy of broadcasting on the Montana public television stations and system of non-censorship? You got a congressman in this state who's fighting, the hoo-has back there all over the country about censorship issues having to do with the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts. And then these people, these, tyros, these big important cows at MSU and U of M, they don't talk about, freedom of speech in the press in a Montana public television station or system. Hey, I remember some respected, journalist, hey, sit up, relax. Dean from one of the universities associated with a journalism school in the system who said he didn't understand the connection between the First Amendment and public television. Well, I don't, that confused me. Then here we got the New York Times with an op-ed, an opinion piece, homophobia at the National Endowment for the Arts by Holly Hughes and Richard Elovich, who are playwrights, and they perform their own works. And they talk about, this guy Frohmeyer from Oregon, who took over the NEA as an appointment of Bush's. And he says that when Frohmeyer overturned grants that were given to 4 artists, that the overturning of these grants represented Frohmeyer's and President Bush's attempt to appease the homophobic, misogynist, and racist agenda of Senator Jesse Helms and company. And I say right on. And what do we mean by homophobic? Do you understand what that means? Huh? Do you? It means people who loathe and despise and ridicule and harass and taunt and are mean to and beat up on men and women who prefer, at times, the intimate company of their own sex, right? Misogynist means, generally, men who hate women. And racist, well, if we don't understand what racist means by now, I don't know. But anyway, these writers go on to say that Frohmeyer, this guy who's running the NEA now, apparently believes he can make sacrificial lambs out of gay artists and that no one will care, that no one will speak up for us. Unfortunately, he may be right. Where was the outcry when the word homoerotic was included in the list of restrictions attached to National Endowment for the Arts funding contracts by Congress? No other group was so blatantly and prejudicially targeted. There was no outcry. Well, hold on a second, Howard. Let me get this phone for you. Yes, I'm ready. Yep. Good. Are you going to be down in a while? Okay, no hurry. And we'll see you on the river, okay? Howard's ready to go. Harold. Yeah. Harold, I'm reading the newspapers to him right now. I'll see you down here. Relax. Bye. That was Patty. She's going to go on the river with us today. Oh, Pentagon curtails 24-hour vigil for its airborne command post. Remember how for the past, 40 years, this Cold War thing, and there's been this plane constantly in the sky, representing, the president's, a battle station in the air. It was, always up there. There was always this plane up there, with all the nuclear command codes and bombs and... supposedly, I don't know, the president was supposed to race out of the White House and get onto a helicopter and fly to Andrews and then get on another jet that took off for Colorado to this hidden plane, and then he'd get on the plane and then he'd run the world from up in the sky or something. It was so they're going to end that because they can't afford to do it anymore, and they said that, that we don't have to be so frightened anymore. Who was ever frightened? I was never. Were you ever frightened of the Chinese? Or the Russians? Oh man, I was cowering in my boots. I always imagined that they were going to be, here, in the States and running everything. They would import 80 million, Chinese to run everything. They would run, they would run, well, maybe they could have run Luke's bar. I don't know, but I don't know. I was never afraid, I never expected them to be, pouring in and, oh, come on, give me a break, Howard. What is your name again? Hey, hello. Hi. Okay, we will. All right, bye. That was Maureen. She said we should come and get her when we're ready, or when she's ready. Oh, let's see. $3 a barrel. OPEC price increase. De Klerk in South Africa urges exclusion of top communists from Mandela talks. Ooh, let's keep those top communists out of these talks, Top communists. Let's see. A lot of men, it's like in the New York Times, the pictures in the New York Times are kind of lousy, but it's always white men that are, in the Times all the time, now here's this white guy who's the governor of Louisiana, and then here's this white guy who's president of that country club down in Alabama or something that doesn't accept blacks. And now here's more men carrying a casket. Sri Lanka. That rebellion's been going on for years. Oh, here's more men. There's that's good old Jim Baker there. And then here's 5 terrorists. Yeah, it was an interesting thing that they said that, that very few women are terrorists, and that, I was reading some feminist essay, which was interesting. They were saying that there was this, kind of psychosexual dimension to terrorism, in which terrorism was kind of an extreme form of male power over women, and that I don't know, it was curious. I mean, you know me, I'm like you, I'm not an intellectual, so I mean, I read this and I find it interesting, but after that, I'm stimulated by it, but I can't always explain it on a Sunday morning. So defense rests in Barry's trial. Here's Barney Frank and David Durenberger, and killer, 38 years old, executed in Florida. a split on hiring homosexuals as clergy. God, so much of our world today is taken up with issues of um, you know, sex discrimination, sexuality, sexual violence. Archdiocese of New York exempted from rules on AIDS care. Newlyweds will honeymoon in jail. AIDS on the rise for women and the young. United Nations Health Report predicts 3 million deaths in the 1990s. Nice music, huh? Well, you gonna go on the river today? Well, you don't sound very excited about it. The S&L, the savings and loan industry. The savings and loan industry. I mean, how come the financial industry is not, you know how the banking industry, had a big deal going, loaning money to the third world, right? And they loan them, like hundreds of billions of dollars, and then, those nations in South America in particular and all over the world, they can't pay their debts because they were, they didn't have the money to pay the debts. They borrowed the money, and then I guess some people used it and spent it and bought a lot of things, and so then they can't pay their debts. And so the banks, like first world banks, in Manhattan or wherever they are, Switzerland, Luxembourg, or, like writing these losses off. Well, how come these banks in, New York and L.A. and Switzerland and Luxembourg are not just writing off these losses, caused by, these greedy government people and private sector. There's another, the private sector. That's like the free market. Let them write off. What? Why is there this assumption that for the next 50 years, you and I and our, kids and grandkids and our nephews and great-nephews and nieces are going to have to pay off this $500 billion debt? Why can't the industry just write it off the way they wrote off their losses with Brazil and Argentina? It's not my fault. It's not my responsibility. Let them pay for it. Why is there that assumption? Why is there not a revolution going on in this country that says, forget it? I mean, why isn't the Congress just like, passing a law and saying, okay, you guys at the banks in New York and Luxembourg and Switzerland, you owe this money, but we're not gonna have the taxpayers pay for it. Anyway, I don't get it. There's some new initiative going to be on the ballot in Montana this fall about, where all property taxes would be eliminated and all income taxes would be eliminated and all taxes would be eliminated except that there would be a 1% tax on every transaction of a financial nature. So, but what do I know? What do I know about any of this stuff? Very little, except running my own savings account. And I'm not going to tell you where it is either. But it's safe, and it's not in my mattress. Let's look back at the Missoulian here. Cultural Commission in Missoula, the Cultural Exchange, And I'm just kind of picking up on all of that here recently, since I got home the 1st of June. But, the thing of it is, what I don't get is, like, what are they doing? I mean, these folks who want a cultural committee or exchange or whatever it is, and they're talking about that Missoula could become another Ashland, Oregon, or something. Where that Ashland, Oregon has that. We were over there. Has that big? We saw that we saw Shakespeare over there, and we saw that farce, you know, the cow jumped over the moon. Remember that? It was good, yeah. But over in Ashland, it's a $60 million, you know, basically year-round theater community, and it's Actors' Equity. I mean, the whole thing is a union operation. Now, God knows unions aren't the greatest thing in the world, but I'll tell you one thing: it's like it's a living wage for an actor and for the director, and so, you know, I mean, it seems that in Missoula and in Montana, so often in the arts or whatever, that some arts people say, oh, well, we can't be too political, you know, when in fact they're so political, but they're always political, you know, like shining on, you know, the, quote, founding fathers or, you know, of the community, and, you know, learning how, you know, get along to go along, you know, that's their routine, and, but they don't talk to artists. You know, or they don't talk to any artists that I know, because I know a lot of artists and writers and poets and painters and sculptors and weavers, and you know, I probably know 50, 60 of, you know, quote, Missoula artists, and none of them that I know has said anything about the, quote, cultural committee or exchange or whatever it is, talking to them about what they want. And if they did talk to us, maybe they'd find out that we would like, you know, yeah, we'd love to have a permanent year-round theater, and we'd love to have some regular wages, you know, we'd love to have our work put on. But they don't talk to us. They talk to business people about, well, you know, how much money do you need, and how many people rent your rooms in the summertime? Now, I'm not saying that economics isn't important and that statistics aren't important in trying to figure out how to do this, but what is important is that if somebody wants to, you know, promote the community of Missoula as being a place for the arts, then how about talking to the artists? Huh? How about talking to the artists? And in the process, you know, don't use up money that belongs to the public until they start talking to the artist. I mean, any cow can understand that, right, Harold? Anyway, I gotta go because I'm gonna... Are you gonna go to the river or not? Well, all right, you know, we're gonna go in 15 minutes, and you better make up your mind, and I'm gonna go, so I'm gonna leave you with the Missoulian, you know, this fount of information, and, you know, and I'm gonna maybe take the biased New York Times, you know, and it is, the New York Times, you know, you just have to be more careful about reading it in its own way. It's as protective of the status quo as the Missoulian is. So listen, I gotta go, but it's been a pleasure having my Sunday morning coffee with you. Huh? How about a little kiss, baby? Oh, I kissed a boy cow. Bye. See you later. I gotta go. See ya. But she's a producer. We're just a community person. We're gonna make coffee doesn't say, you know, our cable company, this cable company. We're proud to support public access and da-da-da-da-da. God, I don't believe it. I do not believe the news.